Hello and welcome to the White Collar Fitness Radio, the ultimate podcast for professionals striving to achieve optimal performance in today's fast-paced age. I'm your host, Bruno Dalladoni, online body transformation specialist and founder of the Health Coach Fitness. I'm here to help you optimize your health and fitness, even if you're short on time.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Today, we are going to be discussing how to beat Quitter's Day and actually make some progress this year. Every year, people start with their New Year's resolutions. Yes, we're still on the New Year's theme. It is, as I record this, still only the 8th of January. Every year, people sit maybe around that airport week between Christmas and New Year. Airport week, because it's airport rules, isn't it? Everybody's going for the snacks. It doesn't really matter that you've just spent 30 quid on Deliveroo. All of those things. Don't worry, I'm not judging. But you get it. You hit January 1st and you're like, I'm going to do the thing. Thing is, Strava, the fitness app, track your runs and stuff. So Strava does a year in sport report every year. And in 2019, they pegged that the second Friday of January, so that normally lands around the 10th. Funnily enough, that is when January 10th is this year, on the Friday. They figured out that by the second Friday of January, about 80% of people quit their New Year's resolutions. And so they dubbed it Quitter's Day, which kind of makes sense. That's when people throw in the towel and they quit. You're not a quitter. You're listening to this podcast. So come on, let's figure out some ways that you can stick to it. Now, why do most resolutions flop? Well, how it goes. Get all fired up, big plans. You're ready to go. You start going, and then life smacks you in the face. Work stress kicks in because you're back to work. Someone at work told you about the latest Squid Games season. You've got some leftover Christmas pudding. All of that stuff happens. And the key to making your resolution stick is twofold. One, break them down. We've discussed this in previous goal setting episodes, was breaking them down into manageable chunks. That's number one. And then two, is really exercising the discipline of showing up. Even if you can't be bothered, even if you think it's going to be a waste of time, let me tell you, it's not a waste of time because you exercised the muscle of actually getting there in the first place. And that is very, very valuable. That is what's going to build into your system that this is just a thing you do. You just go to the gym before work, after work, during work, at lunchtime, whatever. Doesn't matter. Show up. Even if you don't have the greatest session, even if you're feeling a bit weak and the weights you pick up are a little bit lighter, it doesn't matter. Show up. Because the showing up, the not giving yourself the room to not show up is what's going to get you there. Even if you walk out of there and you go, well, that was a bit of a wasted session. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, you showed up, and that's the important thing. But let's assume you are in fact wanting to make some progress. So you're not just showing up every single session and not doing anything. You are in fact showing up and you're like, let me get after it. It's still early in the year. You still got some motivation, as it were, to go and do things. What I've been noticing in the gym as I've been walking around, obviously you've got some new people. You've got, what I like to dub the New Year, New Me crew, because they are usually the people that come in for New Year's and then by February they've left. But what I've been seeing is people putting weights really light and they do the thing, and granted, this tends to be slightly younger people, like early 20s or, late teens, early 20s. But nonetheless, and they do their exercise. Picture perfect. It's beautiful. Form is impeccable. It looks exactly like they've seen on Instagram, but with no weight, and they're not doing anything. Listen, the gym is not a place that you're there to look pretty. Yes, I know you see all these people on Instagram and you see all these people on TikTok and they all look flawless. Let me tell you, biggest pet hate of mine. Because your favorite Instagram influencer didn't get his six pack by doing the stupid exercises he's telling you to do. I guarantee you. And your favorite Instagram influencer, TikTok influencer, didn't get the ass she has by doing the exercise she told you to do. I guarantee you that as well. It's important to realize that the stuff that these people put out on social media is great for clicks and is great because it looks good, but that's not how they train. They train hard, like hard. They're sweating, they're puffing, it's the gym, it's physical exercise, it's physical effort. It should be hard and it should suck slightly. The reward comes afterwards when you're like, that was hard. I did that. So, how do we decide what is in fact hard? Well, gym talk, in nerdy talk, we tend to use a thing called RPE, rate of perceived exertion. It's a very nerdy scale, and you can do your RPE in different ways. But let's just use a good 1 to 10. Everybody likes a 1 to 10. Where 1 being you're basically sleeping, 10 being like, I don't know, maybe you've given yourself a heart attack. Okay, out of 1 to 10, truly, how hard are you working? And if you're not on that, oh my God, I might be giving myself a heart attack here. And listen, I don't literally mean this. Disclaimer, don't give yourself a heart attack. That's dumb. That's me being silly. But if you're not like pushing hard where your muscles, they're pumped, they feel like they're about to explode, they're hot, they're failing, you're breathing hard, you're sweating, you're struggling to breathe. If that isn't happening, that's fine. But where along that scale are you? And you need to be honest with yourself about that, because really, if you want to be making progress, like we discussed, showing up is, I don't know, 2/3 of the battle. It's more than half. You've showed up. You're trying to build a new habit now in the new year. You've showed up. That is massive. But now you have to also do the work. And if you're not sitting at the very least a 7, 8 on that effort scale, you're not going to be doing anything. And then that's where people start getting disillusioned. That's when people start going, oh, but I've been showing up to the gym for, 6 weeks, and I look no different. Nothing has changed. Make sure that when you go in, like I said, there are days when you can't be bothered. Work has been really stressful. You didn't sleep well. Your 2-year-old was screaming all night. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Show up, do a little bit, move some weights around, have your effort level and maybe a 4 or a 5, doesn't matter. It starts to matter if it's every single session. What you then want to do is make sure that you go in and you pick up some weights and you push. Now, I will caveat what I'm about to say with maybe it's because I've been doing this for a long time. But what I tend to find works best for me is, instead of just focusing on the movement itself, moving the weight from A to B. So say, for example, you're doing a chest press, a bench press. Instead of just focusing on getting the weight from my chest up and up to my chest, like just A to B, B to A, try to focus on what you're trying to work. What muscle am I doing this for? Why would I bench press? Most people bench press because they want a bigger chest. Okay, or they want a stronger chest or whatever. They want to work the chest. Okay. Let me try to see if I can consciously feel my chest, put my mind in my titties, and then squeeze the chest. Now, I use that word a lot when I'm coaching, squeeze. So do a lot of other coaches. Now, what I mean by that is this. I want you to picture this. When you've, I don't know, done some cleaning at home, you've got a cloth and it's wet and you need to wring that water out. And you wring it out some and you squeeze out most of the juice. But there's still some juice in there. So you try to keep it still twisted and you grab hold and you twist further and you try to squeeze all that water out. That's what I'm talking about. When you hit the snagging point, the sticking point in that movement, whatever movement it is, a squat, a bench press, a pull-up, a lunge, doesn't matter, a bicep curl, there's always a sticking point. When you hit that sticking point, I now want you to squeeze a little bit further, get a little bit more juice out of that cloth, aka the muscle. Hopefully that makes some sense. And that way, guys, by getting your intensity level, your effort level up and higher, by focusing on the tissue you're trying to work, you're going to see some more progress a little bit more quickly. Now, listen, all of this stuff takes time and it takes consistency and it takes, just showing up every time and doing the thing. But making sure that you consciously put in that thought and that effort into what you're doing will just speed up that process a little bit. It's really, really important. You also be able to progress your weights a little bit more readily and in a little bit more of an informed manner. Okay? Because what happens is you don't want to just be like, oh, I don't know what I did. I'll just move. I'll pick up some weights. No, you need to keep track. Keep track of that weight. I'm actually going to put a link to a workout logbook, pen and paper, I know, revolutionary, on the description of this podcast, just to an Amazon link. So you guys, if you need to get one, you can get one. And it's really simple. You track the weight, the exercise you're doing, the weight you're doing, and how many reps and sets you've done. So that next week when you come back, you know exactly what you did. And this is how you're going to make progress. If you can, and if you've hit all your reps and your sets with the desired weight, and you didn't have to lower the weight, you didn't have to do any of that, well, the next week go a little bit harder, go a little bit heavier, get some extra reps. There's loads of different ways you can progress, but progressing and trying to progress every week is key. Now, some weeks you won't progress, and that's fine, but so long as you're progressing, at the very least, once every 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and you're moving that stuff forwards, and every time that effort level's hard, awesome. Again, there's some weeks when there's some days when things won't be how you want them to be, and that's absolutely fine. But as a rule, you should be aiming to progress. And as you see progress towards your own goal, that almost spurs in the motivation a little bit more. And then you start making that a bit more of a habit, because now you've got a little bit longer motivation. It's not just the new year splash of motivation. You now have, okay, this is doing something. Let's keep going. And then now maybe you're not just motivated for 3 weeks. Maybe now you're motivated for 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Well, that's 2 months. That's already the end of February. And then you look again and go, oh yeah, that is actually doing something. And then even at one point or other, your motivation will drop off, because it naturally does. You can't live on motivation forever, just the same as you can't live on adrenaline forever. Well, as it drops off, you've now built a bit more of a habit. But for that to work, for you to be able to see some progress towards what you're trying to do, as we've discussed before, you need to set some realistic expectations, some realistic goals. Break your main goal down into smaller, more attainable, more quickly attainable goals, either weekly or monthly, so that you can progress and it's not too far out. A goal 8 months from now, you might as well not have it, because there's very few people that can keep their mind in that for that length of time. Break that target down, break that goal down into manageable chunks, and then work towards them. And that can be even for your session, if you're feeling like you can't be bothered that day, you can set yourself a goal for 2 solid lifts in that session. And then you do that, and then everything else, if you half-arse, that's absolutely fine, because you've got your win. You've lifted, you've had 2 good lifts in that session, even though you couldn't be bothered. Log your progress, make sure that you're tracking, make sure that what's happening week on week, and celebrate your wins. Celebrate when you've done well. Now, that doesn't mean go and get, I don't know, smashed every time, but appreciate the fact that like it takes effort to achieve even a small goal. So celebrate those. Hopefully, guys, that makes some sense. Hopefully this was helpful. As always, follow, subscribe, share with your friends. I can't emphasize this enough. We're trying to grow the podcast, trying to get as many people to listen and partake, because let me tell you, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and what I'm trying to do is what I do with my clients, is give you guys some good information so you can go away and apply. Share with your friends, and I'll catch you guys next time.